Let me say this. Saying, and this is not meant to be controversial, but one of the favorite sayings of today's world is love is love. And to me, that's like saying water is water. Water is not water. And love is not love. On a moment of personal reflection, there is no love like the way you love your kids. Well, we're now live. It's 3 o'clock on a Sunday. Hope everybody's having a freaking awesome weekend. It's the first weekend of Stampede around these parts, so freaking bananas. It should be the best Stampede ever. I don't think as an Albertan we can complain too much about the federal government anymore because they chipped in $10 million to help finance the Calgary Stampede, which is bananas to me. How do I apply for that grant? It's usually the other way around, where the government's like, hey Bob, you owe us $100,000. Could you please figure out a way to check your credit card balance and see if you could pay that off by the end of the month? How's everybody doing? It's been a crazy month or so. We've been dark on the old barn banter for a month. And I'm not going to lie to anybody. It's been a bit of a circus trying to line everybody up for the summer. So everybody's got plans, or their wife or significant other jumps in and says, nope, you can't do it because we are going out. Which I totally get. Honestly, it's been 2 years of hell, right? Like hell on earth with COVID and everything else. So it's like the first summer in like 3 years that people are actually out doing stuff. So we'll see how it goes. Once every couple of weeks, once every 3 weeks, maybe once a month over the summer. Not really sure how that's all gonna jive out, but hope everybody's well. How was everybody today? I kind of feel weird doing it. I don't have a guest. I don't really even have a topic, but just trying to, what's that? Everything is content. Hey, buddy, how's it going over there? I saw you were at, am I saying too much? Did you just finalize your divorce? That I saw you were at family and probate court, so there's only a couple of reasons that you could be at family or probate court. I don't think any of them are good. It's quite a journey. Oh, not yet. Not yet. Just happy birthday. It's not my birthday. What makes you think it's my birthday? I have not disclosed my birthday to anyone on any social media accounts. When they ask for it, I give it some false thing. So if it shows up as my birthday, it ain't my birthday. It's all equal. Yeah. It's an interesting... Yeah, I don't want to say too much about that. It's a bad rap. Oh, hey, congratulations on your freaking house, man. That's awesome. Now all you got to do is start a garden and get some chickens and some goats. You did have a 1 in 36 chance. It's better than the lottery, right? That's awesome. Is it all official? Is it now yours? Just identify as a female. Isn't that, like, that is such a weird thing that's happened in this world. I don't understand it. I sound like such an old. I'm not even an old geezer. Just what is happening where that is an allowable stance. I identify as whatever. Um, are we hiring? Interesting enough, we're doing. Obviously, I'm expanding my field. I'm doing some project management these days. We're just about to finish my very first restaurant, commercial restaurant, running the whole show, which we'll have cleaners in next Monday, if everything shows up on time. It's been a fantastic learning experience, but to go with the I'm hiring thing, one of the owners of the restaurant group is Nigerian and asked if I would be willing to bring over his nephew through immigration from Nigeria. So that's going to be a freaking, I don't know. To answer your question specifically, no, we're not hiring. Um, I honestly think my days of hiring are over. I've said to the boys, if they want to expand it, then do it. But I've said it on here before, but I have 1,000 stories from about 2004 to 2017. I had anywhere between 10 and 18 employees, and holy shit, it was a struggle like no other. I said sorry every day. Uh, Out of the probably 70 people that I employed over that period of time, I would probably rehire, I don't even know, 3 of them. I'm not an easy guy to work for. I can tell you that. I fully admit it. I have incredibly high standards. My boys will attest to it. It's usually the way I want it done and no other way, unless you can give me a reason why it should be some other way. So I don't waffle on that very much, and so I butt heads a lot with. I butted heads a lot with the people that I employed, and it just was so stressful. I don't know how. I don't know how people do it in today's world, especially after COVID, when everybody's literally taking 2 weeks off. Can you believe that, meathead? My son, my youngest son, Pete, V1 or V2. So I'm literally doing that, brazing off that, coupling off that job. It was way out in the middle of nowhere for this low net zero house. The guy was super picky and was right here on my shoulder the whole time, watching everything, because he wanted to make sure it got done right with no technical experience of his own. But he wanted to ensure that everything was exactly the way that he wanted it done. So it doesn't. I don't care how long you've been in the trade or anything. If you got somebody watching you the entire time, it's a little bit nerve-wracking. So I was focused on that, and Pete phones me out of the blue and says, "Dad, the press machine isn't working on this mega press stuff." I'm like, "It was working fine the other day, like perfectly fine." He's like, "I don't know what's going on. It's not working." So I give him 5 or 6 other things that he can focus on because I'm 2 hours away. So I finished my job. I'm driving back, just racking my brain, thinking, "Man, what's wrong with it? It's nowhere at its." I think the force logic is good for 50,000 cycles, I think. And I get there, and he pulls it out and he squeezes it. He's like, "Look, it doesn't click all the way." And I'm like, "Oh my F, what jaws are you using?" And of course, he's like, "It's the V1. These are the ones that Isaiah told me to use." I'm like, "And what does the ring clamp say you should be using?" "Oh, yes, the V2. What a moron. So, yeah, I roasted him forever on that. Um, and then told him that night that he had to tell me the difference between the three, the V2, the V1, and the C1. And I even had the Viking pipe fitter offer to give a free training course to my boys because that's what he does. I'm like, listen, I super appreciate it, but these boys can figure it out for themselves. They need to figure it out for themselves. So Pete now knows what the V2, the V1, and the C1 work for. And it's basically based on pipe sizes than anything else. And of course the C is for compact, for the small little guy. It was nothing but problems. We had guys that were, I know I said, somebody sent me if they can top my stories. And of course the Florida man did. Stray Dog Plumbing sent me a story that happened to him, which was awful, which I won't repeat here because I'll get banned. Isaiah's a journeyman and Pete's third year. Yeah. Pete would be probably done if it wasn't for COVID because the trade school shut down. And then they went to online learning, which is, imagine trying to learn a trade from YouTube. It works just as well as you think it would. It's freaking ridiculous. And so I just kept them out of school and put them to work for for that year. And whatever it is, April, or where did he work from? May and June. He's just been back since July. It was the first live session that they had of school, which is mind-boggling. And they have messed things up so badly. I don't know how the government's going to get out of their mess. You saw that, I mentioned it the other day, that you can now sue, if your employer laid you off or fired you over COVID because you would not get the vaccine, you can now sue them. It's legal to sue them. Can you imagine the shitstorm that's going to create? Whoa. I heard one more year and no else. Oh, yeah. Yeah. There's no point in sending him. Like, he wanted to go to school, but I'm like, what's the point? Like, you're not going to learn anything online. You're just filling your time in. And there is nothing worse in the trade world than becoming a journeyman plumber and not knowing anything. Like, it's awful. I had a guy once, journeyman plumber for several years. First day on the job, gave him a hot water tank to install. Gave him all the material. He was in a truck, tools. I showed up 2 hours later, and he had the thing out of the box. He didn't know how to hook up a hot water tank, which sounds like I'm exaggerating or being a dick about it, but he legit didn't know how to hook up a hot water tank. And that was it. Fired him. You can't have that, man. Like, that's insane. I don't know how you survive. Everybody thinks the ticket is important, and it absolutely is in today's world. But if you have a ticket and no knowledge, man, you ain't going to last long anywhere. People see through that instantly. Unless you work for a really big company, I guess. You can just hide it in not performing. I don't know what the deal is. I've told everybody that's ever worked for me that it takes 5 to 6 years to get your journeyman ticket from beginning to end. There's no shortcuts. It's just how long it took. And that's Isaiah started. He's 24, 25 now. And he started at 18. And he got his finished last January. So it took him 6 years, which is exactly how long it should take. I don't care what anybody says. It's just how it is. So, and for all, like you say, there's a bunch of you guys in the biggest plumber there. that was an Ontario ruling with you can sue your employers are open to litigation now. That must be coming in the States. It's odd. The States is ahead of us on some timelines, and we're ahead of them on some timelines, but it's going to be bananas of what the mess that they've created. Yeah, that's the true statement, right? Like, it doesn't matter how long you've been doing this job. The technology changes so much, and there's so many opportunities, and there's so many different fields. Like most people, I started in resi, and then went to commercial, and then did service, which I really like, and just have stuck with service. And now that I've been doing that for freaking 25 years now, I decided to try my hand. I got the opportunity to run a couple of jobs, construction jobs, and yeah. We'll finish this 10 days under contract, which is fantastic. And the guys that are run it, are the owners, have sort of spread the word. I have 6 more to do over the next year, so it's going to be a busy. I'm not sure I'm going to fit that all in. Plumbing and running some projects. It'll be a bit hairy-carry, but I hope that sort of weed myself out of the plumbing aspect of things, and then run over to let the boys take over the plumbing, and I just sort of phase myself out. If all goes well, which as soon as you make plans, God in heaven laughs at you, but I hope to be, in 5 or 6 years, to be running my bees and my goats and my chickens and a couple of projects on the side. That's the plan. And then coast into retirement. Buy a piece of property down in southern Alberta. I've got my eyes on a couple. I'm waiting for the crash to happen. What do you guys think? Is the crash imminent? Are we looking at the recession of all recessions? It's a scary thought. I wish everybody in the world good luck. You can see, if you haven't checked out the news about Sri Lanka, they've overrun the palace. The president's bailed. They don't even have any oil or fuel for anything. Yeah, it has to crash, doesn't it? Especially what's happening with what our politicians are doing. It's like they're trying to accelerate it as quickly as possible for whatever reason. Print as much money as they can, destroy the industries that make money, and supplement the ones that don't. Seems like a recipe for disaster to me. The only one that I remember, I remember several of them. 2000 was a bit rough. 2008 was when I changed my whole business model. When here in Alberta, the housing market just crashed. We had 13 houses on the go in various stages of completion. And over the weekend, it was for like 3 or 4 different builders, so I thought I had myself spread out properly. And they all, over a weekend, canceled all their projects but one. So within 48 hours, I went from doing 13 houses, busy as hell, material everywhere, guys everywhere, to one house. It was rough. So I know I saw that, eh? Foreign countries, they're literally giving it to China. What did he give? Like 95 million barrels? 950 million barrels? I don't know. It was 95 something to China. Oh my goodness. And like you say, the old conspiracy theory, which of course I delve into occasionally, but they're saying that they have hacked um, they've hacked into Hunter Biden's, like, his iCloud account. It was only 5 million barrels? I thought there was a 9 in there. When was that? The 13-1? I don't know what that means. 13-1. The one, oh, the 13-1. That was in 2008. That's when all I did was I did very little service, had some residential clients, and we did exclusively custom houses, big ones. If anybody's on here familiar with Calgary, Bear Spa, Springbank, Cochrane, and a couple houses down south, sort of in between Okotoks and High River. It was, it was a bad day. It was a bad weekend because it just was dominoes. This, then this, then this, then this. This builder bailed. This builder bailed. That builder bailed, and he on a bunch of them. I had already ordered fixture packages. I had already, had all my materials on site. One of them, or one of the builders we had 3 or 4 homes with. Not only did they cancel it, but they locked up all their sites because they were going bankrupt. And so all my material and some of my tools were on site. And we couldn't access them legally. We did access it. But if once the bank or the bailiff takes over, everything that's on that site is technically the creditors, usually the bank and the government and whoever else, and they get to take all that stuff and hawk it for 10 cents on the dollar, and to try and recover their credit, which the bank or the government gets paid first, and then the bank, and then nobody else does because there's usually no money left because they literally sell it for 20, 15, 10 cents on the dollar, the best they can get. It's crazy. It's a crazy freaking system. And the owners of those companies, if they pay the government and the bank, they walk away from everything else. So yeah, that was 2008. We did some, how shall I sound here? We did some reconnaissance. I got all my tools back. We weren't able to get all the material back, but it can happen quick, and did happen quick. So I'm hoping. I do think, for whatever reason, I got nothing to back it up other than my own intuition. I think we got 18 months, maybe 2 years before the whole thing just goes. And that's when I'm going to buy my getaway property down in southern Alberta for a quarter of the price that it's listed for right now. my bug out cabin. Not sure where far. Yeah. Well, and that was before. So I remember my dad doing that. Was in the 80s. They used to call it key payments. Where literally, if you owned a house and couldn't make the pay, you would literally mail the keys to the bank. Say, we're out. And there's nothing they had so many of them here in Alberta, in Canada. Guess who the prime minister was when that happened? That was Pierre Elliott Trudeau, Justin Trudeau's father, when they instituted the National Energy Program, where they took over all the oil reserves in Canada. It was a bad deal. And lasted about 4 or 5 years before they rescinded it all because it destroyed the economy. But yeah, if the mortgages were 18%. Bob Hope. Jimmy, you've gotten too much stuff, too much sun. Um, yeah, mortgages were 18%. And and everybody thinks that's mind blowing, which it is. But back then, houses didn't cost $500,000 or $600,000. The average price of the house back then was 80 to 150,000. Like it's freaking crazy. So can you imagine trying to make a 18% payment on a $400,000 house? I don't even know what the math on that would be. What's that? A $6,000 payment a month? Whoo! The bank's gonna have some inventory if that goes down. You have had too much sun. Yes, that's exactly right, man. Justin Trudeau is Fidel Castro's actual son. Being in business is not always a good place to be. I don't know if I believe that. The beauty of being in business, for me anyway, is that you are able to... I'm bumming you out. I'm just being real, man. The beautiful thing about being in business, in my point of view, is your flexibility. That you can literally... because I'm as small as I am, I'm able to, and most of you guys aren't huge, you're able to maneuver and make plans and react to what the government does and all that sort of thing. If you're an employee, like you just sort of show up and you're done. And that's always been, for me, the downside of the employee, which they look at as a positive. Look, every 2 weeks you make $3,000. Like that's it. So, and then all your expenses come out of that. So if you make like $6,000 a month Canadian, you're making what, 72,000, somewhere in there. Or if you're doing really well, you're making 10 grand a month, which is 5 grand every 2 weeks. You're making 120,000 bucks a year, which is great. But what are you going to do if you just get kneecapped and that's gone? That's going to suck balls. With the business side of things, you can, I'm able to slash expenses to Viking pipe fitter. Not if you're union. Well, now, every side of the coin's got its advantages and disadvantages, right? If you're part of the union and the government contract shuts down, then you're out of work, right? I mean, that's how it works up here. When things are going really well in the oil field, then being part of the union is great. And if you're able to stick in that for a decade or so, then you get some seniority, and some miles underneath you. And then if things slow down, then they just start hacking from the bottom, right? So, and didn't I'm not throwing shade, I'm just thinking out loud. Didn't the plumbers union in the States back Biden? Which they now regret. I think that's true. I think I remember seeing them coming out in support of that and then being mad that they cut, first off, the Keystone Pipeline and all the rest of that stuff, which is it, again, I'm speaking like I don't know exactly what I'm talking about, but plumbers and pipe fitters, isn't that all one union? Up here, it's all one union, plumbing and pipe fitters. You just go to the next company. It's true. It's a sticky thing, right? Like, and I've never been union. The union is not prevalent in Alberta at all. Like, there's literally, there's union shops, but they work for the Department of Defense and big government contracts. Like, they'll do skyscrapers downtown, but the contractors, or sorry, the developers of those skyscrapers, they'll hire like 3 different companies to do different parts of the skyscraper, the building. So if I was that big, I would do floors 1 to 15, and then a union shop might do floors 15 to 32, and then another shop would do 32 to 60 type of thing. Never been laid off or fired. Yeah. Well, and you think like 15 years, that's awesome. And, I think of my own career at 35 years now. Like it's gone by like that. But there's been a lot of changes in 35 years, both in the way work is done, both in the way things are bid, both in the way governments work. Like, so even the unions have to react to what's going on out there. No one's immune to the economic pressures that the world's facing right now, right? Like nobody. And if you've got a good situation with the union, then I would absolutely stay there. And it's probably not the time to go breaking out on your own. would be my recommendation. I've been amazed, frankly, at a couple of the plumbers here on IG that started their own business during COVID, which on one hand is a testament to how strong the trade is and how badly we are needed and how low the numbers of actual skilled tradesmen are, whether you're in the union or not, that these guys have been successful in one of the most crunching economic times in the world. Yeah, like you say, it's going to be too bad. I'm just going to read this because once I post this, like nobody can see the comments, but Colton is like, one way or another, you can go any way you want. But if you like weekends and overtime and health insurance, then thank a union guy. My thought on that is what I agree with you 100%. There was absolutely a time when the unions were necessary and important and vital to the benefits of being a tradesman. Because there's a lot of, a-holes out there that'll take advantage of that situation. And I mean, history's just full of companies taking advantage of their employees. And the union is absolutely a necessity. My experience or my lens, hey, Sukaris, how are you, buddy? My lens of looking at the world is, the people that govern me as an employer now is not the union, but the government. Like there's, as an employer and as a business owner, I have to provide I'm mandated, like I have no choice in the matter. WCB, there's employment standards that I absolutely have to live by and work by, and I'm followed up on. There's payment standards that I absolutely have to maintain, both wage requirements of holiday and weekend pay, which all, if you follow that tree down to its roots, all came from the pressures and coordination of unions, 100%. Do I think that that's necessary today? My opinion is no. The government is make sure that I treat my employees properly, right? Yeah, very true, right? And that's because of the first unions, 100%. Agree with you, no just disputing that at all. If it wasn't for those first unions, then everything that I just said when it comes to health benefits, minimum wage requirements, WCB, the what do you guys call it down there? Occupational health and safety, all that stuff wouldn't exist. But it exists now because of unions. Like there's no disputing that. Have they served their purpose? I would say yes. But yeah, you guys call it OSHA down there. Occupational Health or Safety Health Association. Ours is Occupational Health and Safety, OHS. When those suckers show up, everybody's... In fact, when we were in town, I had a shop in town. My neighbor, bay caught on fire, and OSHA showed up to inspect their bay, and we gave everybody the day off. Said, everybody go home. Do not come back here for 48 hours. The last thing I need is OSHA coming to inspect our place. Because if you guys deal with OS, whatever Snyder said, what did he call it? I forget now. OSHA, OSHA. Those guys, if they want to find something, they will find something and fine you massive amounts of penalties for whatever. Colton's on here. Like saying giving up your weapons, government will take is not trustworthy. Yeah, you know what? I won't disagree with that either. So Colton's basically comparing the union's presence, like having the Second Amendment, which I cannot disagree with. The only, and it's not a union thing. It's a big corporation thing. When those guys get so big and there's so much money involved, that it's super easy to become corrupted, right? Like our government here in Alberta, we went from a $18 billion deficit last year to a $4,000 surplus within a year. It's the largest swing in a budget in the history of the world of politics, percentage-wise, not numbers-wise, but percentage from that deficit to that surplus has never happened in anywhere in the world ever. And so you're sitting with whatever that number is, $24 billion extra. No, you're not blowing anything up. Colton, thank you for giving me a topic to go off on, because I like I said, I tried to set up a few interviews and everybody's busy, which is cool. And so I thought, well, I said I was going to do it, so I'm going to do it. So, not blowing anything up. This shit, okay, I'm just going to read it. I didn't mean to blow your spot up today. This shit gets me fired up. The company I'm working for is obviously wide open. And it means there is no accountability. Love you. So, are you saying Vega is not union? It's not that hot in here. It's only 30. Vega has to be union. Maybe I shouldn't say that out here. Get you in trouble. Now that exactly what? I forgot what I was talking about. Oh yeah, the budget. So there's so much money. Like, can you imagine if I am the president of whatever and we just did only one of your factories is union? That's Jimmy, who's gonna come on here sooner or later. As soon as he figures out his life as he's now a baby daddy, like legitimately, he's married with a baby, so he's trying to sort his shit out right now. Just one, eh? That's interesting. I thought you guys would have more. Maybe it's offshore stuff, maybe. Anyway. So imagine I'm the president of a company that does $15 billion, has a $15 billion surplus. What's $50 million? What's $50 million in $15 billion? Nothing. I could write myself a $50 billion or $15 million check and nobody would know. Nobody. Oh, zero. It's actually frowned upon to talk about. Well, I don't want to get you in trouble, Colton. Don't be talking about union. Uh, but you, I mean, without getting super into it, you were at 15 years with the union and then left to what appears to be a privately held company. So you're now not protected by the union? Or do you still pay dues to the union? Anyway, it's like I said, I do know it's you. That's why I love you, bro. Because we have an honest conversation about honest things. There's no BS. That's why I'm trying to get freaking Jimbo on here, who's responding with one-word answers like "ha" and "no." There you go. So again, because I don't know, you must. If you're still a card-carrying member of the union, then you must pay your dues annually. And what would that be? I'll just guess. What does it take to be a card-carrying member of the plumbing union and not be actively paying dues off your paycheck? What is that, like $1,000 a year or something like that? You're not boring at all, Jim. Not at all. Yeah, no, so the greatest tradesman. Union plumbing contracts usually come from the government, jobs, or lobbied influence contractors. That's this basically still up here. Oh, that's nothing, man. So Colton's dues are 200, basically $300 a year. It's nothing. And that keeps you active in that. You must, I know for a fact that you've gone to union shops and as a trainer and show those guys what the V2 and the V1 and the C1 is. Which at the Baker Plumbing Union shop, which is I'm everything, the master of them all. We had a lovely discussion about what the V2, the V1, and the C1 jaws do on the Viega press tools. So Peter will never make that mistake again in his entire life, which is good. Yeah. All week, yeah. And so that must give you, because you're a part of that tradition, shall I call it, that must give you some credence, some street cred in and working with those guys, I would think. There's Jimmy. Sloan valves, 100% made in the U.S. Well, we'll have to talk about when you finally come on here why only one of your shops is union and the rest are privatized. Or not. Again, the only time that I've ever come across the union was in Calgary. We were doing a hotel, a 30-story hotel. Yes, me, my dad, and a couple of guys that he convinced to work for him back in, that was probably 1997, 98 maybe. The union showed up and they wanted to do the vote. And how it works here in Alberta, if 51% of the employees vote to go union, you go union. So they did a big dog and pony show up here. That was in 98 because they wanted to convert. We had probably, my dad was running the show. I was working with him. We had a couple guys couple actual plumbers, and then the general contractor had hired 15 or 20 laborers to work with the plumbers to do all their crap. And somebody within those labor group contacted the union and said that we wanted to go union. So we literally had to go. There was 3 union members on the table, and they went in and interviewed us one at a time to see if we would vote union. And it didn't pass for whatever reason. But I remember being terrified. It was before I was as confident and as arrogant as I am now. Well, I remember being terrified walking. It was done in their one of the hotel's banquet rooms, and they were sitting at the table, and I just remembered my palms sweating. And they asked me a bunch of questions about whether I would go with a vote union or not. And no. Anyway, the vote didn't pass. A bunch of the laborers quit. And anyway, as usual, we finished the hotel with understaffed and barely on time, while a bunch of those guys that quit criticized us for not being part of the team. So that's literally my only experience of dealing directly with the union. We've competed with them. We tried to do we bid on a Department of Defense job downtown, which we would have won if we were union. The union shop won it, which is fine. We didn't want to work for those guys anyway. I think the most important part on IG is the smaller work, residential, light commercial. So the need for extensive training and collective bargaining is lost in translation. I agree. Most of the, that's from Colton again. Most of what we see on IG is light commercial or residential or light commercial, without a doubt. I suspect that most of those big jobs, it would be frowned upon to whip out your camera and take a picture of what's going on, probably from a liability point of view, from a reputation point of view, unless it's been interesting as I've talked to people like Colton and the rigid guys, and several of them, a couple of the girls that I've had on here that work for big wholesalers. They had to get permission, and I'm pretty sure Colton did too, or at least he informed them of what was going on, to come on and chat with me, because I didn't want to get in trouble. With a couple of them, not with Colton or with Rigid for that matter. They said ask any questions you want, but a couple of the sales, one of the sales gals I had, and a couple other people were like, "These are the questions you can't ask me." I'm like, "Oh, okay. I'll write those down on the board so I make sure I stay away from those topics." Because everybody's Colton does what he wants, man. I believe that. But I think you admitted that you just made sure that that everything was cool. I think, if I remember how you said, I told him what I was doing and wasn't going to take no for an answer, but it wasn't a surprise to Viega that you showed up here on the double screen here chatting with me. Is that fair to say? It wasn't a surprise to them? And that's all we need to say about that? Which I totally get. Even my little company, we're super conscious about our reputation. I talk to the boys all the time. Jimmy's getting brave. He only answers off-limit questions. Okay, Jim, I'm literally gonna put in. I'm gonna send you a list of questions, and we're gonna chat about that here in the next couple of months. Oh, there's my man Chris, Lower 48. How are you, brother? He's another guy I'm trying to get on here, but he's a busy fella. And Colton admits it. Top secret, has to be top secret, but everybody knew. The best kept secret on Viega is that he was coming on Barn Banter with this meathead. Yeah, super good. I'm gonna. How's fatherhood there, Jimmy? What are you like? 3 months into it. And I hope I'm not saying out of school, but I think, if I remember, it's Emerson. Emerson Sloan? I think it's Emerson Sloan. For obvious reasons. In fact, I know an Emerson and a Sloan. 2 months. Not named the same. There it is, Emerson Sloan. See? There's a couple things that stick up in there. Not very much, but there's a few things that stick around, which is awesome. On a personal note, thanks, Colton. Appreciate it, brother. Keep it real in frickin' Colorado. I can remember my oldest daughter is, I think she's 29 now. Anyway, I remember the day she was born. I remember the day we brought her home. I remember all the firsts. Never goes away. And on a moment of personal reflection, there is no love like the way you love your kids. Let me say this. Saying, and this is not meant to be controversial, but one of the favorite sayings of today's world is love is love. And to me, that's like saying water is water. Water is not water. And love is not love. Water comes in a million different varieties and consistencies and good, bad, and ugly. And so does love. But for me, the absolute purest love is the love of my kids. I have 5 of them. I love them all just to death. I'm very hard on them because that's my job as their father. I'm not mean to them and I'm not abusive of them, but I am hard on them and they know that. And I hope at some point in their adult lives, they appreciate that, what should we call, hardness that I've intentionally crafted, because I think it will serve them well. What's wow, Jimmy? That water is water? I'm a plumber. You gotta everything's like, when people say, that's exactly what I think of. When people say love is love, I'm like, it is not, my man. That's water's water? No, it's not. There's a billion different types of water. Love is not love. Yeah, you can't say that. I love my mother. I love my kids. I love plumbing. I love basketball. I love my barn. Those are not the same. They're all different. They mean different things to me. I react to them differently. Boiler water is not potable water. If you're a service plumber, then you know water is not water. And so I use that line with my kids almost incessantly when I see those little slogans around. I'm like, that's a lie. That's a bald-faced lie. And it's selling a message that isn't true. Anyway, again, that was not meant to be controversial, but I think that's how it works. So when you see that stuff, I think it's important. If you feel differently than what those slogans represent, then you should speak your mind and be as kind-hearted as and understanding as you can. But yeah, being nice to people is not the same as being kind to people. Being kind is being truthful with people. Being nice is just letting anything go. And I think a majority of the world has tried to be nice and accommodating when we should be kind. And being kind is being truthful and honest and upfront with what you think and how you feel and what your position in life is, or what your position on issues are, because there are issues, and in order to solve them, we have to be able to have a honest conversation about them, and that means that we won't necessarily agree on everything that on every topic that comes up. Being kind is treating people the way you wish to be treated. Yeah, I agree with that, and I want people to be honest with me, and even if that means you're going to hurt my feelings with your honesty. That's what I appreciate. Is I've been around enough to know that people say things just to avoid confrontation, or just to move on to the next subject, or whatever the case may be. I'm not sure that, in my mind, that's not translated as kindness. It's being nice. It's niceness, which you're out. Love the contact, man. Thanks for joining. What time is it even here? Oh, it's been an hour. I'm going to wrap it up here very quick. Oh, Service Wizard, I owe you a phone call. I do. Sorry, when we started this stupid, this project management and everything else going on, it's been freaking crazy. I'm going to call you this week. I'm going to call you tomorrow. And we'll chat about whatever you want to chat about. That's all I got to say, fellas. It's been a fabulous. It's hard to believe that an hour goes by so quickly. I appreciate you all. I appreciate the community that's on here, whether you're active in it, whether you comment in it. If you have any questions or concerns, or you want to chat me up, send me a message. And I promise you, I may not call you, as Service Wizard will attest. Thanks, Jimmy. Peace, my man. I may not call you, but I will absolutely respond to you in the messages. As most of you know, I'm quite active in there and happy to chat about anything, anyone. There is no topic that's taboo. And I think that the expression of your thoughts and feelings is what makes the world go round. So jump on here and contribute, and let's start a conversation. And I'm going to be off for at least next week, and I'm going to hit up a couple of these fellas here and try and get them on in the next couple of weeks. And we'll have, instead of a just me talking to this crazy screen, which is amazing to me, we'll bring on some guests and have... You're right. I owe you a conversation. I apologize. I did say I would call you, and then life has blinded me with the fast-pacedness of the need to get things done. So I'm not avoiding you, but I'll fully admit that I have forgotten to call you. Anyway, hope everybody has an excellent Sabbath. I'm going to go fire up the barbecue. I'm going to have some fantastic meat, steak, prime rib steak. It's going to be delicious. And I hope you all have an amazing week. Actually, I do it very well. I couldn't. What? That's it. Love you all. And it's not I love you in the sense of I love you. It's, it's a shade of that. So don't read too much into that. I'm not sending you a weird message. I appreciate your contributions and the fact that I get to know you. In any way, it's amazing to me, this little community. That's it. I could ramble on for another half an hour and talk about nothing, but I appreciate the time, fellas. Appreciate your contributions, and I will see you on the next time I post something on here, and in a couple weeks in the bar. Love you too, brother. Out.